And we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live Reality Games. And we are continuing with our Survivor Angelica 2022 recaps. I'm Parker, and as always is Nathan. Nathan, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm willing to go to rocks here.
Well, at least somebody will go to rocks tonight.
Yes.
uh, as always, we love having guests on to cover. So joining us this evening, we have Ayla. Ayla, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
And we also have Dave. Dave, how's it going, man?
Good. Dave Holdsworth. I didn't put my last name on like Ayla did, but I'm Dave.
It was autofill. You know when you put in your name and it says autofill?
Yes.
That's just for extra credit. So tonight we're going to be covering episode 6A and 6B. Should be a lot of fun. New tribes. Very, very quick challenge, I will say. But it was a fun one to watch. And a lot of drama going down for the vote. So we start off this episode. And the biggest revelation in 6A, I must say, is we do finally learn what Chaz got from returning to the game. That was a bit of a mystery for the last episode. I think even Nathan and I asked Ashley and Alyssa about it. And he has an extra vote. Now, we also learn, because Nathan and I couldn't figure it out if Chaz was just throwing his vote or if he actually knew what was going on, but it turns out he was actually left out of the vote. Dave, since you were at that tribal council, I want to come to you. And obviously, these situations are very situational. When to leave someone in on the vote, when to leave someone out. But you have to know that there's probably a swap coming up soon. So just walk us through what the strategy was behind leaving Chaz out of this one.
Sure. So this was the vote where Ray ultimately went home, which was a tough one. And we knew Chaz had to have come back with something. Otherwise, he risked just immediately getting voted out. So we assumed he had something, and he was pretty tight with Ray, and Ray was a little bit all over the map. We could never pin him down on anything. I think he was afraid to hurt someone's feelings by committing to someone, which is, not the best thing for someone in your alliance. So we felt Chaz was going to probably protect himself, so we need to probably throw it on Ray and try to misdirect Chaz. Chaz is probably not going to stick with us in the long term because we voted him out first, no matter what he said. Since he might have been a lost cause anyway, why not burn the bridge? That's what we did.
Right. And like I said, these are very situational circumstances. Like you said, you'd already voted for Chaz once. How much do you think you can really rely on it? That makes sense. I just want to give you the opportunity to clear that up, because that was something that we also were wondering as viewers.
And a little bit of trivia, we just found out in our chat today that, yes, he had an extra vote, but when he came back in, he was given the choice of two things. He could either, one, have the ability to leave tribal council, not vote or get voted for at any time, or take an extra vote. And he chose to pick an extra vote when he came back into the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nathan, knowing what we know now, do you think Chaz should have taken the other one?
Potentially, but potentially that would have been the better option here.
Or really use one of them. It wouldn't have mattered. He would have been fine.
Yeah, if he gets an extra vote with you guys in the next episode, then he could have won there too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to apologize. For the last two episodes, we asked our guests how they got involved in Angelica, and that's normally what I like to start off with. So I want to ask that to both of you. Dave, how did you discover Angelica and get involved?
Sure. I started playing these LRG games in 2017. I applied to Survivor 22 times. In 2017, I found these live games, played one, and said, okay, no more CBS. I'm just going to do these things, because I found a bunch of weirdos out there like me who are stupid and go live in the woods and play these Survivor games. But I've been playing this. I played 4 games, including Angelica. That was my 4th, and I found them online. They had kind of been their own little game for a while, and they started making inroads in the LRG community right when they opened up applications. And I found them, and they've been around since 2000. They're kind of the old school OG Survivor game, and I'm like, you know what? That's for me. I want to give it a try. So I applied. They interviewed me, and their first question was from Jason. He said, why did you dislike one of our comments on the game, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm sorry. So I went back and found it and changed it to an up, and they cashed me.
I'm gonna assume that was a misclick.
It was, yeah. I'm 53. I got fat fingers, Yeah.
And Ayla, what is your familiarity and background with Angelica?
Yeah, so it started in 2002, in which I was 5. So it's not like I heard about it when it started, but when so basically I was on a Survivor fan jury page. Maybe you guys are on it too, because I just love watching this show. And then when I was on there, somebody found me for an online game, and I thought he was just some weirdo. And this was during COVID, so I was like incredibly bored, and I was like, yeah, I love Survivor, I'll play this. And then from there, I heard about the live games. So the guy that played last season, Jared L, Angelica the season before me, we were playing an online game together. And I had applied to this Angelica one, and he's like, I'm going to be in that. But I couldn't go because of the border restrictions or whatever. So yeah, it was from there that I kind of heard about it, and was able to come in 2022 when the border restrictions are better.
Awesome. And taking a step back just real quick, because we haven't actually had anybody from your original tribe yet on the podcast, Taylor. So I do want to ask you, going back to, well, not going back to, but your tribe only had to go to one tribal council before this episode. And even though it was a 6-2 vote, I believe, there was lots of talk about it going to rocks. Is it going to tie? Who's going to vote with who, swing votes, all that sort of thing. Just coming out of that tribal council before this tribe swap, who did you ultimately feel like was your closest alliance members?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything,
Sure.
but I thought that I could really trust Christina and Sarah. I liked everyone there, but the general vibe from the beginning was that, I don't know if it was being the only Canadian or maybe from a different generation, but I did feel like it was hard to penetrate that group of guys that are in their 30s, 40s. And I wanted to work with them, but I just felt like I wasn't going to be included really. So it was, and I'm sharing the loft with the girls. So it would have been awesome to have a 4 with Teresa, me, Sarah, and Christina. I wanted to, but then Teresa wanted to be with the guys, which disadvantaged me, obviously. And Christina had pregame connections with Justin. So it was just very complicated. But then after that vote, I came out of it like, I'm going to be in the minority, but I do trust Christina and Sarah, and maybe we can make something work with Justin. I don't know. But I definitely came out of that feeling good about those two. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer to that question.
No, that's what I asked. I appreciate it.
Your tribe learned from Erica and Marianne that you just can't let these Canadians get anywhere near the end, You can't trust those Canadians.
I know. And you know what? I would love to go on the show. I mean, Canadians became able to apply in 2018. And I think I was a couple years of being an adult at that point. So I was like, oh, I can apply. But now they're making it so it's like it has to be 50% diverse, which is great. But it makes it like when they're only picking a few Canadian people, and then they want people who are diverse to fit that quote as well, it is more difficult. Like I am actually biracial, but I don't look it. So I know that there's that aspect to casting as well. I'm not sure that I'd ever get on the show. But I am glad they are making it more diverse. I'm just saying my chances are not going to be as high given that.
I don't know. I'm kind of with Nathan. I mean, there's 100% success rate for Canadians so far. Every scene that's had a Canadian is won. I think they like this.
And how big's Canada? There's only like 50 people up there, right?
I mean, we are a 10th of the state's population, but yeah, they're only picking a couple or something like that. But I'm proud of Erica and Marianne. They represented us very well.
there's also in like 2 seasons. I don't remember the 44 off the top of my head, but there's also I know there's already been more Canadians than some U.S. states represented, so it's a good track record. So obviously next we get into, well, it's funny here in the confessionals. We get a lot of confessionals from your tribe, Dave. Actually, some people are everybody's anticipating a swap. Some are really excited, like Alyssa. Some are not so eager for it. But either way, it's gonna happen. We're gonna get a swap here, and it's a different kind of swap. It's a schoolyard pick. Ultimately, Andrew and Justin are gonna get to be the captain, so to speak, and they have to pick a member of the opposite tribe. I won't go through the whole order, but yeah. And had we done this podcast before watching episode 6B, Dave, I would ask you. I was going to ask you why you picked or why Christina picked you, but as we find out in episode 6B, I think we have a pretty good understanding why Christina picks you. So can you talk about y'all's relationship?
She picked me. She says, "You, what's your name?" Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Christina knew Dave, Alyssa, and Justin. I'm not sure if she knew any other people.
Oh wow!
And I know Angelica does they do their research and they try to make sure people don't know each other. But I just don't think there's not that many people in this community, so there's going to be connections.
Dave, could you explain that connection? Because it was mentioned during the episode, but I'm still a little confused on this.
Sure. I played Survivor Philadelphia, actually with Chrissy. Chrissy won that game. Philly's a one-day game. I'm from Philadelphia. Go Phils. Go Eagles. And Christina played season 1, and she was on crew for season 2. She also played Survival Challenge after I did. So she and I spent most of the Survivor Philly. She was doing confessionals, and we just talked Survival Challenge stuff. So we all kind of knew each other going into it.
That makes sense.
Now, that makes sense. And for anybody, this is a bit behind the scenes tidbit. When we were organizing this podcast, actually, Dave's only request was we do not make this on Sunday because he's got to watch the Super Bowl, got to rep the Eagles, which we wouldn't do that anyway. But totally understandable there.
Plus, we didn't want to be a threat to the Super Bowl's viewership. You know, we don't want to make people have to choose between watching Angelica coverage or the Super Bowl.
We do need to share the love.
That's good of you guys. That's really nice.
Yeah.
That makes sense about Christina's pick for you, Dave. But I would like to know, and granted you only had 2 options, but I'm sure Ayla would like to know, why did you pick Sarah over her?
I knew I could say Sarah's name correctly, and I wasn't sure. I didn't want Ayla to get mad at me for mispronouncing her name. and to be honest, guys, once we saw how it was going to work, it didn't matter who I picked. All the girls were coming over, so really, it didn't matter who you picked, really.
Oh, it mattered to me.
You were upset you got picked last?
Would you have been?
Nah, I wouldn't have cared.
No way. I don't believe you for a second. I thought we were being honest, Dave.
I'm the oldest guy out here. I mean, come on. I'm used to being targeted. You know, I bring my walker. You know how it is.
I think people granted you more respect. So yeah, I kind of wish that people had thought of me. I didn't have to be the best one out there because I know that's not true, but I'm an athlete, so it was kind of crappy to be picked last there. But I know I saw Andrew whispering to you something like pick Sarah, not Ayla, but then he denied it.
I have no memory of that. I will
I
say
would be-
later, Andrew was a big fan of yours, Ayla.
I love Andrew.
Yeah.
We like that initial thing where I maybe misread his lips, but he was like an amazing person to get to know, and yeah.
He's the man. Yeah, he and I talk. He and I talk about you a good bit. He's a massive fan of yours.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of him too. I wanted to go to the end with Andrew.
He's such a fan. He didn't pick you first when he had the overall first pick.
Well, he didn't know me then. I think he only became a fan of mine once we got to talk to each other. Before that, I was just
naturally.
Yeah.
He said he went into your conversation like antagonized by you, like I want to vote her off, and he goes, I came out of it, and she was one of my biggest allies. Yeah.
So I felt too.
I'll tell you guys a funny story about Andrew. So
Please.
this was the first game where I was recognized by someone who I didn't know before from a previous game I had played. So we lost the first challenge and we're all walking down the road like, oh shit, we're gonna have to vote someone off. And Andrew comes up to me and he goes, "You're Daddy Dave." I'm like, oh crap. That was I became Daddy Dave. That was my nickname in Survivor Philly. I was Zaddy or Daddy Dave. So I'm like, okay, you're my ally. So he and I became ride or dies right at that minute because I didn't want him to burn me to.
You love being called Zaddy.
I didn't know what it meant. I thought they were making fun of me. I didn't know what that meant until after.
Did that come from Survivor Philly, or did Andrew just make that up?
No, that came from Survivor Philly. That was my nickname pretty much after the Matt in Survivor Philly.
Okay.
Well, Dave's always looking out for everybody. Like we said it in that chat. Like eventually when I got voted out, he helped me, with getting food, walked with the truck with me in the heat. Like he was always looking out for everybody.
Although we're not spoiling anything, I don't remember who got voted out after this episode.
Nathan, did you have a question a second ago?
I do.
I'm kidding.
I was curious, like you all, I guess you were anticipating a swap, but were you happy to learn that there was a swap, or were you pretty comfortable in the position you were at on your tribe?
Dave, you go first.
Well, we were screwed. I mean, numbers wise, do a swap or don't do a swap. Unless something happens in the swap where we're up in the numbers, we were dead in the water. And that's what happened. But I felt very comfortable with my tribe. Alyssa and I were incredibly tight. Andrew and I were incredibly tight. I don't think those bonds would have broken. I think we would have probably dictated who went home next. But the swap was fine too. We were dead in the water when that happened, when we saw Chaz was with us, but what can we do?
So the way that I look at it now is from hindsight perspective. So I'm going to try not to think about that, but I know how the swap ended up affecting my abilities in the game and the way that went down. But just thinking about it from when I was there and when the swap happened, I was very happy to be with Sarah and Christina because they were the people I trusted the most. I do think I would vouch for the fact of actually doing a schoolyard pick rather than having to trade genders, because then just automatically the guys on my tribe had a numbers advantage, and we were in a situation that ended up working out, but it may not have. So I was glad to be with them. I knew we weren't going to win as much, like automatically. Just whatever tribe Tori's not on, and that was going to lose. But I mean, I don't think that I was in an amazing position on other tribe too. So I think what I felt was neutral. Like either way, I had some work to do to get into a solid position. So I don't think that it mattered whether it was staying or swapping.
If you all did go to another tribal council, did you feel comfortable with that, or would you have been nervous?
Without a swap, you mean?
Yeah, without a swap.
I was not feeling nervous if we had stayed together and gone to another tribal council. No.
I think so. The people on my tribe mostly were, there was some conflicting personalities, I guess. Some people felt like they weren't getting along with Sarah, I guess. So I knew that she was higher on the pecking order, but that if she, had an advantage or something, I would be probably the split vote. Christina had that in with the guys, and Teresa had gone, so we lost a number. So I think that I would have been okay had we gone to tribal again, but there was no guarantee. I certainly wasn't in a safe position.
Well, we do have the swap, and obviously there's a lot to talk about with the vote. But first, we have Nathan. We have the return of a challenge you and I are quite fond of.
Oh gosh, no.
So the backstory: Nathan and I have done the challenge together. We've never won it. Our tribe lost and we did it. But the funny thing is, we actually both really like it as viewers. And the way I describe it is, I don't know how Ayla, you and Dave feel, but I feel like this challenge is, at least in my opinion, when I played it, I enjoy it as a viewer, but it's so different playing it as like an actual player. You know, it's one of those challenges with the biggest like difference of opinion change. Like once I got to actually play it, like it's not easy. But I want to ask you guys, obviously it doesn't go as well for y'all's tribe. So did you guys have any kind of strategy going into this particular challenge, or did you just jump in and hope for the best?
We did. We talked. I'm not saying that it was executed perfectly, obviously, but we did. It was that, you know, everyone was holding the rope tight when they weren't going, and then the person that wasn't was kind of letting go of it and walking. The problem was we weren't keeping it level. Not everyone wasn't pulling the same extent they were supposed to. I think it's just a matter of just meeting and not being in total sync. But I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
I think it's exactly. You look at the video. Their tribe, the ropes were pulled taut, all at the same level, and ours, people were kind of just holding it down and not pulling hard at all. When that happens, and plus they have Superman Tory, you know, they're going to win, and that's exactly what happened. Although I would say Dan at the end, that he had ice water in his veins. Where Dan, if you're listening, dude, that was sick.
Yeah, and just the fact that the guys, all four of them, on that tribe, they just already had gelled with each other, already had a system. We had done multiple challenges together. But I also think, like, I love Andrew. We all love Andrew. But he was either pulling too hard or not pulling hard enough. And then overall, I mean, none of us were perfect, but he's really good at most of the challenges. That challenge was just not his challenge.
But Ayla, did you see his arms? His arms are bigger than my legs. He puts on a little bit of tension. He pulls all six of us across the field. I mean, it's not fair.
That's what was happening, and that's not his fault. I don't think he meant to do it. But yeah, you're right. His muscles are probably stronger than both of our legs.
And I don't know if you guys noticed this. In the background of that challenge, you can see Shayna, but you can see Chrissy sitting there at Ponderosa in the background. I think she was drinking, high noons. She had like double fisting high noons in the background.
I actually was a little bit curious about how this challenge worked. Early on, you had like 2 filler blocks, like blank blocks that you put on there. Could you have added those at any point, or did those have to be some of the first few blocks?
They had to be the first 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it essentially just made it to where it was more blocks you had to stack.
And I love this challenge. Watching it on TV, I've seen it in other seasons and games. I've never actually played it before. I helped produce a game in Brooklyn, and we haven't used this, but this is a great challenge. It's not a fun challenge to do when you drop it like we did all the time.
That's what I'm saying. It's great to watch, and it's incredible to watch as a viewer, but not fun to participate in.
No, like, I actually really enjoyed it. I know that we didn't do that well, but I did like it. And just talking about not just the challenge, but everything makes me like want to see that group of people again. It was such a great group of people and crew, and such a fun game. I liked every challenge that we did.
One thing that before we jump to the next episode is, and we hear you, Ayla, Sarah, and Christina talk about a lot, is you notice that somebody got something in their buffs, you know, a clue of sorts, something along those lines. Did you ever? And we learned as viewers later that Andrew is the one who ended up getting it. He reveals in the voting booth. Did y'all ever learn from Andrew that he's the one got it during this episode, or did he keep that secret to himself?
I am pretty sure that Andrew didn't tell Christina or Sarah, but that he told me, not that like during that episode, but later on, that he was the one that had gotten it, like just in one of our conversations. And I think at that point it was a moot point. But he didn't tell me when he got it, but he told me later.
Okay.
I heard right away. I knew.
Well,
that was my next question, because I knew we see as viewers, y'all are close, Dave. So I didn't know if he'd revealed it to you.
And it's funny. It was the same clue that Alyssa got about the flowers and this. And you know, I'm not going to spoil an upcoming episode, but it does pay dividends down the road for people that are keeping track.
Let's see. I think that's all for 6A. Nathan, was there anything else we missed from 6A before we get into 6B?
I would just be curious, because we've had relatively very little idol talk so far. How much time do you think y'all spent looking for that idol? Because it seems like no one has had any luck at all so far.
I feel like Dave probably spent more time looking for it than I did. I don't know. Like, I know that people were looking for it. I was always alert looking for it, or like had my eyes out. But to be honest, I am somebody who eats every 2 hours, and out there, I was dying. I don't have a lot. Like,
I
I have
remember
little
that.
arms. I don't have a lot of reserves. So I was just trying to focus on making friends with people and doing challenges and not passing out. So
I
I
remember you
wish I
said,
had more.
you said, I get cranky if I don't eat a lot, so don't be offended. I haven't eaten in a while. And talking about idols, our tribe looked a lot. We did like community looks. This episode we were looking, I probably spent a total of an hour and a half, 2 hours looking for advantages. Yeah. And there's more coming.
We have a question for Dave from Mark, actually.
Oh no.
Dave, when you saw the new Anka tribe, who did you feel was your biggest threat?
Oh, good question.
That's a tough one because the guys on the Anka tribe were really, really strong. Well, first off, Alyssa's always a threat in everything, so she's great. But I was scared. Tori was a monster. That dude, he was made. He's a social threat. He is probably the best physical threat out there. The dude was amazing. However, who was it? Justin scared the crap out of me. I mean, I'll be honest. He's a legend in these live games. He produces them. He's won multiple games. I knew that going in. He didn't know who I was, which is good. I don't think
He's won 5. I think
he's what?
I think he's won 5.
Well, I said,
my
I
gosh.
heard you won a game, and after the game was over, and he corrected me and said, I've won 2. So maybe he's won more than that since then. I don't know. But,
No, it's 2. I don't know why I thought 5. It is 2. I'm remembering that right now.
But he's a threat to win any game he's in. So
yeah, he's so aware, has a way with people, just like the kind of person that commands respect and has that charisma too. So like in real life, being good at Survivor is not a skill, but that's something like he could put on his resume.
I would say this. In my first live game when I played up in Maine, it felt like I was underwater. Everything was going super fast. I wasn't picking things up. Once you play, after your first game, at least for me, things slow down. I'm picking things up. I can pick up social cues. Justin's played how many times? It must be going in slow motion for him. I'm jealous.
Yeah, where I was literally in survival mode. Just like, I want to do as well as I can. And yeah, I think it would be fun because it was my first game. I think it would be fun to play another one and have a little bit more experience.
Yeah, I was in sensory overload my first game. I was overwhelmed. I'll admit it.
Yes.
You both bring up a good point that I fully agree. My first game to my second was completely different. The first time around, I think a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people find they really are enjoying the experience. They don't want to do anything that could jeopardize going home early because this is cool. You're meeting all these really cool people. But then the second time around, you're like, all right, I already know what to expect. I know that I need to play faster. I can't be too timid, that sort of thing. So it definitely is an advantage coming back the second time, whatever game it is, compared to the first.
Yeah, I agree with
that. The
second
time, it's like the Kung Fu Panda line of like, enough talk, let's fight. Like just a lot more straightforward with people. Like, let's get the BS here. Like let's just make an alliance.
Yeah, I would say if this was your first game, you played an impressive first game because you were not shy about, coming up with trying schemes and like being tricky. Much better than I did my first game. So you're way ahead of it, you darn Canadian.
Well, I'm flattered by that. No, I was going to say that I felt like I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be that person that was socializing too much, but then people were making alliances within 30 seconds of arriving there. So I do feel like I could have gone quicker. But once we got into the swap tribe, I was a little bit more confident, for sure.
Yeah, the one phrase I felt after the first game, I was comfortable going up to people and saying, hey, are you up for working together? I was petrified to do that in the first game because if they said no, it would destroy me. But yeah.
Yeah, that first game, it's like you're almost too scared to utter those words. That's how I felt. I would have conversations that lasted 10 minutes when they could last 5 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, you know, I like you. I'm gonna go talk to that person, but we're good, right? It just second time around, cut all that out. Just get straight to the point.
We good? Go. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess
let's work together.
This was Andrew's first game, and I would say I would have looked back and said he was a veteran because he picked up on that. Things to be seen to moving slow for him. You know, he could pick up on everything, and he didn't feel the need to have a half-hour discussion. It's like, are you good? Yes, I'm good too. Let's go. You do this, I'll do that. Go. And let's
be concise. He was concise.
Yep.
And like that was the funny, like for me, I was very, I don't know if it was the adrenaline or like the lack of food and sleep, but I remember when you say, oh, you weren't afraid to like be tricky or whatever. I remember saying to you like almost right away, I heard you through my name. Like, what's up with that? Like, let's change it to somebody else, something like that. Because I just didn't want to get votes. But I think that I think that was ballsy. But with the first few tribals or the first tribal I went to, I was just trying to like go with the flow. But at that point, I was like, I don't want to go out first on this swap tribe. I'm gonna try something.
Yeah. Well, the swap tribe, it's a 3-3 split going to tribal council, and you know, this first vote in any time the tribe numbers are even, it's pretty awkward because you know you have to size up who's willing to give a person up, you know, who's willing to work together, who's willing to jump sit, but more often than not, you're expecting to go to rocks, even if you really don't want to.
For a second. Episode 6A, we were watching it as a cast. It just faded to black. We were so pissed. Yeah, you guys, I don't know if you know, Kurt Klein's the guy who edits all these. He played in previous seasons. We were, you know, making memes of him. We were all pissed at Kurt, you know, friendly pissed at Kurt. What are you doing? But
he's a darn tease. We planned to say mean things about him today. So
exactly. So Kurt, we got you.
Yeah.
Please, sorry.
I guess you weren't aware that this would be a part 2 at first.
We knew it would be part 2. We just didn't know it would be only 20 minutes. Like what we did.
You didn't think it would cut after the challenge?
No. Like that.
That's the thing with Angelica, though. Like, the episodes, they just end. Like, there is no warning beforehand. Just fade to black. You're like, oh, shoot. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
But they are throwing in as you guys say, the Marvel post-credit scenes. They're good.
Yeah. The end of 6B, it has my favorite way to the end of the episode. We get a voice clip of Ray's laugh, which, you know, even though he's been eliminated, we hear Ray's laughter in certain shots. And what better way to end the episode than Ray's laugh?
Like, I gave you a screenshot of right after the season ended, during the season, I literally said when we were out there, please put Ray's laugh in the ending credits. And I probably wasn't the only one who said that. There were probably other people who did too. So I'm glad. Like, I think that that's another thing that makes Angelica, sorry, is that they actually take the suggestions of the people playing the game and they become part of the community.
Yeah.
There's subtle touches you can add to make it better, you know?
And guys, I have to say, I don't know if you guys ever played Dungeons and Dragons growing up or anything like that. Ray had maximum charisma. You know, if you ever played D&D, his character, he's an 18 on charisma. He's the man.
Just an automatic social threat. Like, you can't help but like him, and that's something that not everyone has.
Yeah,
for sure. But going to the swap tribe, like, so when we went to tribal, you said there's a 3-3 split. We were lucky that Andrew and David already voted out Chaz. Like, there was clearly friction there. So, I mean, they could have won that round easily with Chaz's advantages, but they were so disconnected that those other two didn't even know he had the extra vote.
Yeah, he didn't tell anyone. He didn't. We knew he had to have something, but we didn't know what it was.
He wanted to work with us because he didn't trust Andrew and Dave after they'd left him out of the recent vote, which was fair. So honestly, we got very lucky with that scenario.
But he didn't tell you guys about his extra vote either, right?
No, he didn't. And that is the one move that I did in that game, along with Sarah and Christina. Like, when we were talking about what we were going to do, we could have just voted Chaz, because Andrew said he wanted to vote Chaz, but we wanted to do a 3-2-1 because we didn't want to lose Andrew. He was going to be an asset in challenges. And Chaz was being so nice and genuine. And it was a strategic play, but it felt really shitty. Like I know he's like a very relaxed guy, and like he's not going to be crying about it, but I still felt so bad. Like it was dirty. It was a dirty play.
Can I ask about Dave? We hear very quickly from you, and I buy it. That is that you are willing to go to Rocks. You know, it just makes sense. Your original tribe is down the numbers. Ayla, ultimately, were you willing to go to Rocks in this particular vote?
Yeah. So I played, like, I know it's different with live games, but I played online games, and it's always better to go to Rocks, and like we're all playing to win the game. Why would you, put yourself in a disadvantageous position? Like it's one of those where if maybe the other people are too scared to go to Rocks, then you have the upper hand. So I was like 100%, I'm going to Rocks. And I know Christina was too. I think Sarah was too. She just wanted to make sure that she wasn't the one getting votes.
And Dave, we see you have a conversation with Chaz in the episode, and you're doing what you need to do. Hey, let's vote together. We'd be silly to mess this up. We already don't have the numbers overall. Seems like the conversation goes well, but I want to ask you, just deep down, did you really buy that Chaz was going to stick with y'all, or did you not know with him?
Aside from my conversation with Andrew and Christina, I didn't believe a single thing that was told to me by anyone else in the whole episode. No, I could tell from Chaz's body language he was saying the words, but no, I didn't believe him one bit.
Yeah, I mean, we were lying to you, Dave, to be fair. Like, that was the one thing that, like, I was pushing and Christina was pushing was we want to make sure that they don't know who we're voting. Like, we have to sell one person and vote it the other way because most definitely someone has an advantage, like especially Chaz coming back. So yeah, we did lie to you, which, I mean, it's not a great way to start a connection, but we wanted to win that round. That was the most important.
Well, Ayla, I'll tell you something. They didn't catch it on camera, but Christina and I had a conversation kind of before all that. She's like, look, the girls aren't going to split. And I said, me and Andrew aren't going to split. And she goes, look, Ayla or Sarah's going to come to you with some BS stuff. It's all BS. They're not changing their vote. So I knew going in. I mean,
well, I didn't actually BS you on that at all. That was
Sarah. I know. It was Sarah. Yeah.
I told you for a fact I'm not splitting for the girls. I'm not going to unnecessarily lie. But yeah, I said we were sticking.
Did you notice after Sarah said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to flip," and then I said, "How do you spell your name, Sarah?"
I thought you were asking how to spell my name.
No.
Oh, yeah. Like what Andrew told me was that you wanted me and he wanted Christina and you compromised on Sarah. But also like me and Christina were trying to be loyal to our three and like say not throw any of each other under the bus. But then she is saying, I'll vote Ayla so that you guys are voting self-preservation method. And I was like, oh, why is she doing this? Now my name's out there.
Yeah, but I mean, you were not at risk, though. I mean, no one was. I know it's not fun to get votes, but it was just a question of, is it Chaz, me, or Andrew going home? So
yeah, no, but I didn't know that at the point. I thought based on the way that you guys were interacting, but I just didn't. You never want your name out there. And I know she said that she was going to try and like tell you that she was really annoyed by me, which I mean could be true. I don't think that I was my best self out there, but I think it was just to get my name out there so it wasn't hers.
Maybe. Does your best self eat once every 2 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Ayla, would you have been willing to go to Rocks if you had a different amalgamation of people on your swap? Or was it just this specific group of people that made you want to go to Rocks?
No, I would have done it for sure. Because then I would have been in the minority and I'd rather give myself a chance to win the game than to be, someone's goat. Like, I know I still could have had a chance, but I just also think that that's a pussy move, I guess is the best way to put it, to not stick with Rocks and to be the one that caves. And then the rest of it's like letting down the team. And I play sports, so I don't want to be that person.
One thing that I really liked about just how this, from a viewer standpoint, came about was Chaz getting the votes really is kind of a viewer blindside because we don't see those conversations come up from the viewer perspective. And then the first time we see Chad is even an option is in the voting booth when his name is being written down. I was watching like, oh my gosh, is this a last minute thing? So, Ayla, can you just walk us through, was this a very last minute switch or was Chad always the option?
So no, there at first there was talk of Andrew because he was a part of why we lost the challenge, though it was a team effort. And then there was Dave because Dave was being probably the more strategic one. And then there was Chaz because that's who Andrew was saying he wanted out. And we're like, maybe we just do the easy vote. So we were talking through all of the options. I believe they actually in this, I mean, I could be wrong, but the way I'm remembering it is that the other two kind of wanted Andrew more. But then I had an amazing conversation with Andrew and I did not want him to go. And I know Christina wasn't like set. She was very open to something. So I was like, I think I think I could work with Andrew long term, which I did feel at that point. Like we just connected instantly. I just was like, I think he would be good for us in challenges because he's clearly very physical. So the goal was to make them think that it was Andrew, and then we vote Chaz.
And the other half of this plan is obviously telling Chaz the vote is Andrew and hoping that he sticks to that. Where did that part of the plan come from? And did you actually think Chaz was willing to do that?
Yes, I did. I mean, I knew that he could be lying, but the overall feeling was that Andrew and Chaz had absolutely no trust in each other, that Dave and Andrew were tight, and that Dave was trying to keep the three of them together desperately, but that those two were butting heads.
That's accurate. Yeah.
And Dave, and throughout all of this, Dave, I'm assuming obviously not aware that Chaz is trying to have an ulterior motive to vote out Andrew.
Well, I was 99.9% sure Chaz wasn't sticking with me and Andrew. So
Okay.
Was he going to vote for me or Andrew? At that point, it didn't matter because pick one of us off, the next other one would be the next target. So yeah. My goal was to try to get rid of one of the girls, preferably Sarah. If it can't be that, it was protect me and Andrew. If it can't be that, then it's protect me. But
yeah. And Christina and you had that connection. So Christina would not have wanted it to be you. So she's really good at like saying to us, "Oh yeah, like I'll consider Dave." But I never thought she was between Andrew and Chaz, and I think Sarah more so wanted Andrew. But in the end, Chaz going, I think, was the best just because I don't know. For me, it was the best. I don't know about everyone else just because I wanted to work with Andrew.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't play his extra vote regardless. Whatever side he picked, I'm surprised he didn't play it just to protect himself. But you guys must have snowed him pretty good.
I mean, I don't know. He seems like not the type to be fed BS, but we were definitely trying to put on our
You broke out there.
Sorry. I said that Chaz seems like the type. He wasn't born yesterday. Like he's not going to be fed BS, but we were definitely trying our best to put on a performance. So that was the goal.
It must have worked. They didn't show it.
I cut out again.
No, you're good. During the episode, they didn't show it. Actually, they were kind of following Andrew and me around. If we were looking for idols, at one point, you guys gave me about 15 feet, and I reached down and grabbed a rock and stuffed it in my pocket and ran away, hoping you would all think it was an idol. And I kept it in my pocket. Really, it was all bulgy in my pocket.
Now that did not make the cut, but I do want to ask one thing that did make the cut. Nathan, as someone who has a background in film, how did you feel when Dave licked the boom mic?
That was beautiful. It was magnificent. That is what boom mics are made for. To be licked like that.
I thought of you, Nathan. I did it. I said, I bet Nathan will appreciate this.
I think
the rock thing where you picked up the rock was the next episode.
No. Well, in the next episode, I was trying to do it again, but yeah. But yeah, I also did it in this episode, hoping you guys would it would divert some. Maybe we'll not vote Dave just in case.
I think we heard Christina talk about the rock in your pocket in her voting confessional, if I'm not mistaken, in this episode. So,
yeah. I
somebody brought
too.
it up. So we didn't get to see you actually do it, but it was at least talked about in the voting booth.
Gotcha.
Let's see. So let's see. Did y'all feel like was there anything else at Tribal Council specifically that wasn't shown that you guys were surprised about, or did they cover Tribal Council pretty well?
I think they got most of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there wasn't a lot going. There wasn't that much discussion at the tribal itself, I don't think, because they have so much to get done in that one day.
That tribal was pretty darn quick.
Yeah,
he zipped through it because we weren't giving him too much.
We were just also antsy. We just wanted to get to the vote.
Yeah.
I can remember my cheeks, the inside of my cheeks hurt from biting them because I was so stressed.
Isn't it horrible? Oh my God.
It's like, it's just a game. It's not life or death, but my body didn't know that.
Yeah, and we pay money to go do this and be away from our friends and family. Aren't we smart?
Yeah, and camp with strangers who you
exactly.
don't know.
I mean, I didn't properly arrange it with my phone company for me to go into the US. I thought I did, but there was a miscommunication. So they canceled my cell coverage and my data. And so then I had to get back 6 hours from New York to Canada with no directions on my phone and no one to call. So I had to just keep stopping into different like gas stations and asking for help. I was able to call my dad before my cell coverage cut out, and he helped me find some way, but
Ayla, I must admit, you talked about, being antsy, wanting to get to the vote and being stressed about what's going to happen. Is it going to work out? I feel like you kind of got rid of some of that stress in your voting confessional. You had some choice words for the people on your tribe.
Yeah, but like that was my feeling of what was happening. But I also signed up for this game knowing that people are going to use whatever they can to vote for people. Like, that's not offensive to me. They have every right to play with who they want to play. But I was definitely like annoyed that, and I think I thought because Christina was, closer in age with them, that was why she wasn't getting targeted. But I also think it's because, she had the connection with Justin, and like I tried to interact socially with them, but they probably just connected better with Christina. And that's a testament to her. But in the moment I was like, oh, it's ageism. But I know it probably wasn't actually ageism.
For the record, I thought it was great.
There's a lot more where that came from.
Yes.
You needed a Snickers.
I did. You're not you when you're hungry.
Yeah,
exactly. If there's one thing that Nathan and I agree on that's missing from like modern Survivor is we just kind of miss when people just fought each other and had snarky things to say in the voting booth. I think that's missing, and so that gave me a little bit of a taste of what used to be in the older seasons of Survivor.
Yeah, I didn't have a filter out there. I'm like, I'm here to have fun. Like, I'm not going to comment on someone's physical appearance or something like dirty like that. But I'm going to say what I think about them in the context of the game. And I know they did about me too.
They did not get a snarky comment I made about Sarah. Sorry, Sarah. Andrew and I were talking, and I told him, hey, Sarah has a tell when she's lying. He's like, what is it? Her lips are moving. They didn't get it on camera.
Yeah, her whole routine of like, Ayla's just up my butt or whatever, me and Christina automatically knew that wasn't going to work. Like, you were going to know. Like, no. You were not born yesterday. But
I love game theory. When I play these games, I like to say, okay, I'm Sarah or I'm Ayla. What is my best interest? It was, for you girls, it was in your best interest to stick together. Mm-hmm. No one was going to flip. There was no reason to do it. So playing that didn't work.
Yeah. I don't blame Sarah at all for like doing what she needed to do for self-preservation, but I don't think it worked on you.
And this is kind of going back, but you both bring up a good point. Is I just want to ask, because in these situations where it's, the numbers are even, having conversations with members of the opposite alliance is awkward. let's just put it that way. You know, you're talking in circles, trying to do all these things, knowing it's more than likely not going to work. I just want to ask both of you, what was your initial strategy upon trying to have these conversations with the members of the opposite alliance?
Mine was to be honest where I could be, to try and show that I am somebody that is loyal and trustworthy and not going to screw you over for no reason. Like, maybe we could work together long term, but I want to be here, and just try to connect with people on a personal level. Like, I was trying to connect with Chaz over the garbage can having bugs, because we were both dealing with the bugs, but it wasn't a garbage can.
Propane.
And what about you, Dave?
For me, similar. I was trying to figure out if there was any potential crack, but there was not going to be. So, you know, mostly
I would have gone with those 3 all the way if I could have.
Totally. And yeah, and for me, it was chatting with Christina, because Christina and I, like, if we can get through this, we can work together. But she's like, I can't burn my game down to save you. I'm like, I wouldn't want you to either. You know, that's, you know, not in your best interest either. And you can't play the game like that.
She's a very logical player. I saw her as like an older sister type figure out there. She was great to, like, as a person. I love Christina.
Christina is a force. She is the most strategic, yet well-spoken and always calm. You never see her freaking out, even if she's down. Keep an eye on Christina, you know, in this game and future games. She's awesome.
Yeah, she sounds like a yoga instructor out there.
She does.
Oh. And you know, and the reason I asked that is just to get, you know, y'all's perspectives on how to approach these conversations, because, like, it's hard. Like, neither side really has anything to gain from losing one of their own. Again, I mean, depending on who you're actually swapped with, maybe you don't trust somebody from your original tribe. But in situations like this, I mean, Dave, your original tribe didn't have the numbers. Ayla, these are 2 people you really wanted to work with. It's hard, you know. If it was a different circumstance with different people, maybe, but I think you both played it about as well as you could have, given the hands you were dealt.
Thank you.
I just like to point out this episode, especially the B part of it. For anyone that's watching these games, this was the prototype of watching people at the 11th hour scrambling to try to make something happen. Kurt did just an amazing job of capturing all the moving pieces and the thought processes. Plus, I mean, we haven't even covered it. We heard from the other tribe, like, every single person, what's going through their head. That was incredibly interesting, getting just a picture into what's happening across the road in the camp.
For sure. I love the way that they have, like, conversations flow into each other. I think that this episode, they did a really good job of showing what needed to be shown, because there was so much that they had to sort through. I'm excited to see more of it. Sorry, I forgot what else was.
No, I was going to ask, because it seemed like a very quick turnaround between challenge to tribal council. About how long would you guys say you had before the tribal council to scramble?
Half hour?
Yeah, 40 minutes maybe. Yeah, half hour, 40 minutes. Not a lot.
It was like, hi, I'm Ayla. Don't vote me. I won't like it.
Yeah, it's strange to have those conversations, because you don't have the buildup of getting to know them. It's like immediately going from 0 to deep strategic talk without anything in the middle. It's hard to build trust in those situations with people. It really is. But, you know, Ayla and Andrew, you guys clicked like that in like 30 seconds. So it can happen, you know?
No, it's crazy. Like, you don't know that you're going to go out there and make that kind of a connection. And it's like, Andrew and I haven't seen each other since then, but I still feel like if we wanted to go do something together, we'd have a great time, or like, I could trust him, you know? So it's wild how you make those connections in these situations.
Well, I'll tell you something, Ayla. My first game was up in Maine in 2017. We did an overnight. There were 6 of us it wasn't even an official tribe. We called ourselves the Acorns because we slept on acorns in the ground and it killed our backs. I still stay in touch with 2 of them almost every day since then. So,
wow,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone there was awesome, for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? I met Nathan in 2016. Look where we are now.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a big, like, reason to do these games. to get charged $200 in cell phone coverage. Like it's worth it.
I want to
That
ask.
whole like reality TV adage of like, I'm not here to make friends. Like, yeah, you kind of should be here to make friends. At least in these live games, I think that's part of the fun is meeting new people.
I disagree with that. I think the people that do well in these games are the ones that go out there and have the empathy to make friends. Yeah, I mean, you don't have time, especially in our live games, to make good friends with everyone. But if you don't build those connections and make the friends, they're not going to take you to the end, and they're not going to vote for you to win. I think that's the only way. For the most, you can win in a lot of different ways, but if you make friends in the game, I think that helps you enormously.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, you were going to say something, Parker?
Oh, no. I was going to ask because, this episode, 6B was obviously a lot about y'all's tribe, but one thing that Angelica does that I really like, and sometimes even the real show doesn't do this, is that even when, and this is true in the past episodes, is we still get to hear from the winning tribe. We get to hear everybody's thoughts, who they're working with, what do they think's going to happen next, that sort of thing. And I want to ask from y'all's perspective, Ayla, you obviously see the makeup of the new Anka tribe, the four guys from your tribe, plus Alyssa and Ashley. Obviously without spoilers, but just seeing that initial tribe, did you think that the guys would stick together as far as you knew based on just your interactions with them? Or did you think that there was going to be trouble with those four sticking together?
So you see in the first or second episode, Tori saying he wants Justin out. And one of my first confessionals was observing the fact that those two clashed heads, like clashed personalities. Like it was over pouring balloons or whatever. They're just both like alpha in terms of like, they're both leaders. So I knew that those two were not necessarily loyal to each other. Dan and Tori were together. Dan, Tori, and Mark were a trio. It was just obvious by the way they interact, and that Justin was considering being with us. But Justin is also such an amazing player and so versatile that he was not going to let himself go home. So I think, of course, he would keep that Boston Rob mentality. We're sticking together, the four of us. I think if they'd gone to tribal, it would have been Ashley or Alyssa. But I also don't think that those four, I didn't, in that moment, didn't think, oh, those four are going to the end. Like, that wasn't my impression.
And Dave, on the other end, obviously, your two original tribe mates, Alyssa and Ashley, don't have the numbers. So are you thinking right away that they're probably goners, or are you thinking, well, maybe there's a shot that they can get in there? And again, these are all just your first impressions of the new tribe.
I was a bit surprised the other tribe didn't throw the challenge. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah.
we even see Justin give a confessional where he says he contemplated it, and part of why he did it was he saw Alyssa get the clue from her buff. So ironic, that might have saved Alyssa. Who knows? That happened to happen. Maybe he still would have thrown had he not seen it. Who knows? But that does answer my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Hey, back to the vote for a second.
Yes.
This reminds me of who was it? Tyson, when he voted himself out. Chaz did the same thing. Chaz kind of voted himself out of the game.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because, we see the votes, Jason's doing a great job. He's reading them one after another. And then Chaz is unfortunately out. And had he voted with Dave, you, and Andrew for Sarah, he at the very least, it would have gone to a tie. And then I assume, Dave, you and Andrew would have probably still kept him on the revote. I assume Ayla and Christina would have done the same thing. So it's a lot to think about. It's a hard way to go out. You alluded to it earlier, Ayla, how you felt bad because that's just, Chaz has already been voted out once. He's getting voted out again, and he's unfortunately having a part in getting voted out because he's trusting y'all. So I imagine that was just in an emotional sense, a tough exit to watch, knowing that Chaz had been tricked in a sense.
Yeah, I felt evil. And Chaz was nothing but nice and untruthful with us. It was just, I don't know, a selfish play on my part wanting to keep Andrew. And I don't know about Christina and Sarah, about like how they felt about, I don't remember anymore. But I know for me, it was being selfish.
Let's see. And then, so as we wrap it up, Chaz unfortunately ends his time in Angelica. Tough season for Chaz, but it was not. I personally enjoyed following along with him. I enjoyed his confessionals. He was funny. Nathan, what did you think about Chaz this season?
It was a wild ride. From not being on the cast to being on the cast to volunteering to go home to winning the battle back challenge when some people thought he was throwing it to being blindsided.
I think he was trying to throw it. But at some point he's like, okay, I guess I gotta go.
Oh my gosh, poor Chrissy during that.
Oh, we felt so bad for Chrissy. We love you.
Yeah.
I wanted to work with you the whole way.
It looked so hard. I'm sure any of us would have struggled with that.
That was the funniest disconnect. Just again, as a viewer, hearing confessionals and in the podcast we did last week was, yeah, we think Chaz might have actually been trying to throw it. And as viewers, we don't see that at all. We just see Chaz trying to win. So that was just the funniest thing to hear as a viewer. Like, so Chaz threw it, but he still won. So that was funny to hear.
Well, you know what the worst part about watching so far for me has been, though, is like seeing all of our hairs, especially my hair, like knowing like how bad it looks like on camera, versus like, I don't know, when you're out there, you're like, I know it's bad, but it's not that bad. Like, I just want to apologize for everyone having to look at my hair.
Yeah, I want to apologize to everyone about my hair too. Yeah.
Well, Ayla, I must admit, I am glad you apologized about that, because that was your hair was 10 times more offensive than your age comment, I must say.
I agree. Bad.
Sorry, I apologize. One more thing that I did want to talk about is, not that this is the first episode where this has happened, but the more we go along, the keys, we're learning that people can have multiple keys, assuming people can have as many keys as they possibly can. Ayla, like you said earlier, you're the first person from your original tribe that we've gotten to talk to on this podcast. Can I ask you, how much of the topic of conversation on your original tribe were the keys?
I think we talked about fried chicken more, but they were mentioned. Everyone had little theories. We just, I thought that it was just that they would add up to open something. We'd seen on the show, other people had different theories, but to be honest, it wasn't talked about that often.
Would you have been more excited to receive a key or a piece of fried chicken?
Fried chicken.
Yeah, that's a correct answer.
But like other people might not have been. I was just so driven by my hunger. Like you will, actually, no, I can't spoil that.
I have a question. Nathan and Parker, no one's told you what the keys are. Do you have a prediction on what they are?
Good question.
I forget who exactly it was. We did a podcast earlier on, but they said that they theorized early on. My personal prediction, if I had to guess right now, is it's kind of like there's an advantage later on, and the more keys you have, the higher percent chance you have of winning that advantage.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a draw.
That's what I was gonna get. I was gonna assume it would come to some sort of betting mechanic potentially, and as you get voted off, you give players your keys. That awards social game, and then you get to use the keys in a sense to benefit yourself. So that'd be my guess as well.
My guess was at the merge, there'd be a box in front of Jason, and you had, if you wanted to use it, you could give up your vote and go up and try to, use the keys. And,
yeah.
And there might be something in it, or might not be something in it. Who knows?
Okay.
We will see.
I'm going to
I like that, actually. I want to use that. That sounds cool.
Oh, you have to step off, Ayla?
Yeah. If there's anything else you want to know, I can talk about it. But
No. Like I said, that was the end of what I had written down. Nathan, was there anything else from 6B that we missed?
No, I think we're probably good to wrap up here, honestly.
Yeah, the only thing left I was going to ask was, and you guys have done great giving us all the behind-the-scenes details. Really appreciate it. I was going to open it up to the floor one more time. If there was anything else y'all wanted to talk about that we didn't get to see from these 2 episodes.
Not
go
that I
first.
can think of, but I'm going to head out now if you want to talk about that with Dave. Thank you for having me. Enjoy
Ayla,
this.
have a good night. Okay,
Yes, thank you for joining us. Have a good one.
Thanks.
I would throw out that anyone that's watching this, apply to Angelica. I played these games. Other people have played lots of games. Angelica's kind of something special. Jason and his production team, it's a well-run, almost like a family atmosphere out there. They know each other so well. They're finishing each other's sentences, and they make the game fun for the players. It's a high-stress game. All these games are. They do a really good job of making jokes and kind of lowering the tension between rounds without affecting the game. Just, it's run with integrity, high production value, great episodes. Anyone watching this, apply to this game. It's worth it. You'll be happy you did. I was honored to be part of it.
That's one thing I really like about live games, especially ones that you can watch from a YouTube format, is normally you get a real sense of charm from each one of them. Both from the like low budget, obviously, but also you can tell the production behind the scenes, like their personalities and all of that. And Angelica, I think you put it very well, very much like a family kind of atmosphere to it, a warmth to it.
Yeah, and then that Jason, the host, is great. I mean, I'd be surprised if we don't see him on the actual Survivor someday. He's that charismatic and engaging.
And that's one thing we've talked about when we covered it last season is Jason just, especially, and you see it a lot in the tribal councils, but just even in like, chatting with y'all on camera, just in explaining challenges, but especially in the tribal councils, he just has a way of disarming people and like just making them feel comfortable. He can crack jokes. He's not an intimidating figure at all. He's a very likable guy. And and I bring up trial counsel because it's hard. People are trying to keep their cards close. They don't want to give anything away. And he's just able to get things out. He's just able to get people to speak their truth. And that's a really hard thing to do. And that's just a testament to how good of a job Jason does. So you're absolutely right on that, Dave.
And the last thing I'll say is personally, when I play these games, you find out, 5-6 months ahead of time beforehand. I'm a freak. This is pretty much my only hobby. I have 2 teenage kids. I don't have a lot of time. So live games are the one thing I do, either play or help produce. And I went through and watched every video Angelica had. I had puzzles. I was practicing. They didn't have a single puzzle the first half of the game. I had practiced these things so hard. And I got to tell you, when I showed up, I was kind of starstruck, standing there in the mat, seeing Justin and seeing Jason and even some of the production staff. Brett played last year. Taylor won last year. They're there. I'm a 53-year-old guy. I was probably more starstruck with them than I was playing with Adam Klein in 2017. I'm a weirdo.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I feel the same way. I mean, it's hard. We can't describe it to anyone who hasn't done it. But once you've done it before and you've put yourself in that environment where you're willingly relying on other people, phones are away, everything else is taken out of the equation. You really just get to know people and you bond. And these games have a funny way of making you learn about yourself, whether you want to or not. And that's just, I've always described it as very cathartic, whether I've played well or haven't. Either way, it's just always been good experiences for me. So I think you hit it on the head there.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
You were great. Yeah.
Yes. You and Ayla both. You guys, we really appreciate you joined us. You guys really did a great job.
You guys, the rest of the season, it only gets better because I got to tell you, everyone left in the game, they have a shot to win this thing. So you got some fireworks coming.
It's a very high caliber cast, and so was last season that we covered. I'm really enjoying how it's going. I think currently the game is set up to where there's going to be a lot of fireworks because some people are working together reluctantly. Some people are very quickly ready to chop their alliance members' heads off if they get the chance, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of chaos. But that's all we have for tonight, everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in live. Dave and Ayla, thank you again for joining us. We should be back next week with more Survivor Angelica coverage. We're excited for the next episode to drop. And Dave, do you have a specific team that might be playing tomorrow that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, let's see, guys. I play these live games. In every live game, I wear a different Phillies hat.
There you go.
So go Eagles.
I could think of no better way to close the episode or close this podcast.
See y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good